Whew. Hello and good evening to all of you. Obviously this has only just started and it takes a couple of people to connect, a couple of moments to connect. So I will bore you with a couple of my normal stories that happened when we first started. Am I even in the right group? Yeah, I am in the right group. So, a long story short, as always, I don't like to do short stories. Little Joseph, bless his little cotton socks, fell asleep precisely 2 minutes ago at 7:58. So yeah, hi Hannah. So it was, hi Danielle. It was a bit challenging. So Emily's still not here. She's still sleeping in the desert. Put a couple of pictures up. And I went for dinner with the in-laws this evening, Karen and Sam, lovely. Took the kids with me, you know, their grandkids. They like to see them, probably more than they like to see me, if I'm honest. Anyway, brought them back, all asleep. I'm winning. I'm absolutely winning. Going to be ready for Ask an Expert. Little 6-month-old Joseph did not want to leave his car seat, did not want to go in the cot, and I have literally spent the last hour, and I promise you this is true, at 7:58 finally he was asleep enough for me to leave the room. So if I need to run, that's because he's still not quite asleep. Looking at myself, are these classed as bags? Are these big bags, medium bags? Can I have some feedback on the bags under my eyes, please? All is going well in Emily's absence. The only mini challenge, loving the school run, kids are cycling through the park. Yeah, Danielle says they are bags. Thanks, Danielle. The only challenge I'm having is Joseph, who is amazing at night, has decided not to be amazing at night while his mummy's away, and I am getting him awake for nearly an hour and a half every night. So thanks Ian for confirming my bags. So that's why, because little Joseph, bless him, yes he looked cute on the video for the weddings on Baylily Bell Tents, but not at 2:30 in the morning is he's not cute, as all of you parents know and understand. So feel my pain, please. I feel your pain. So I've had confirmation I've got bags under my eyes. The kids are finally asleep with 2 minutes to spare. I just about had enough time to don my genuine RAF flight suit. I'd just like to confirm this is a genuine RAF flight suit. I will come to why I'm wearing it and why I own it in a minute. That's where my map would go if I was flying something. My pens. What else have I got? Got some fancy pockets. Got some Velcro, some more pen pockets. So I own a genuine RAF flight suit, not because I was in the RAF or any of the forces, thank you to all of them, but because one day I said to Emily I want to own an RAF flight suit. So she went out and found me one. That's why I married her, for reasons like that, many reasons like that. And tonight I thought I'd wear it. So here I am wearing it. So what are we up to? So I've covered the kids, got to talk about the kids. Covered, Emily's still away. Put a couple of pictures up on the Baylily Bell Tents feed. She is sleeping rough in the desert. I've just had some thumbs up. I think that's more thumbs up for the bags under the eyes. She's sleeping rough in the desert, and that's great. So yes, let's carry on with Ask an Expert this morning. Looking like a small one this evening. We've only had a couple of thoughts. So if you have any live questions, please feel free to add them in as we go along, and I can say that again in a moment. So ask a question. I'll see what I can answer. Sorry, dry mouthed. Anyway, so wanted to talk about our wedding courses we run. So with the season approaching us, I know lots of you guys are getting ready for your weddings and making sure, you know, everything is up to scratch. So if you think you could benefit from one of our one-on-one, 1 hour Skype chats where we can help you fine-tune your plan and give you our expertise directly to you, then absolutely we can do that. I will post the links in the group tomorrow. But if you're not sure, if you want to go and find them yourselves, then head off into the Outside Bride Facebook page and click on the shop, or just go onto the website, theoutsidebride.co.uk, and click on courses at the top. But the courses are designed for us to really, you know, share everything we know about events and outdoor weddings that we've learned in the 5, 10, 15, 20 years worth of being in the outdoors and doing event stuff. So how long in advance do you need to book an outside venue in advance? Hannah, thank you for your question. I will put that on the list because we've got a couple of interesting things this evening. One, we had a couple of suppliers chatting about their emergency box, you know, their emergency toolkit that they take on site. And the question was positioned from a supplier, but ultimately considers brides and grooms on site as well. You can never advance too many times, Hannah. And I thought that was a really, really genuinely interesting question. So I've taken what the two suppliers have said on their chitter chatter, taken what I think I would do, or actually I know we do, and I've made it. Hold on, let me count these items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 items in our emergency box. Yes, Dave, you mentioned you and I can't remember, I think it was Alexandra were chatting earlier, so I've taken your two, a couple of things and just put a couple more in. So in our emergency box, as Dave says, we've got our cable ties, happy days. These, to be honest, these are really small, pitiful ones, and we would pack the chunky ones. But in the 2 minutes I had spare before going live, these were the quickest I could get to. But loads of cable ties. They all come in lots of lengths. And this sounds really stupid, but what I like about cable ties is you can buy them anywhere. Also, I think on technicality, I think these are tie wraps rather than cable ties, but we all call them cable ties. But you know, even Lidl and Aldi on when they've got their magic stuff in, will have an assortment pack of these. So next time you're in one of the supermarkets, just chuck a pack in, and jobs are good because you can fix so much with these. You know, from tying some tablecloths down in the corners to the legs, or whatever you might need to do. So that's essential item 1. I'm going to do the obvious ones first. Essential item number 2 is gaffer tape. Likewise, you know, happy to admit this, but when we were a marquee company and we were trimming some roof linings to a very particular site, someone wanted us to put our marquee roof linings up in their village hall, which is something that is done, but there were some funny shapes, so we basically adjusted our entire roof lining setup with gaffer tape. And once again, the options of what you can do with gaffer tape are ridiculous. You know, from fixing holes to putting over the best man and father of the bride's mouths when they've been speaking too long for their speeches, and you know, all. Well, it's gaffer tape. Everyone knows what gaffer. Technically, this is duct tape, but there we go. I'm all in a brand. Then we've got a multi-tool. I'm a Boy Scout, so I've had my multi-tool for years. Knife, pliers, lots of stuff. So, you know, whatever you're doing, whether you're hanging paper lanterns up or hanging fairy lights up, or, you know, you're getting stuff fresh out of the packaging and it needs adjusting and it needs cutting, etc. Multi-tool is absolutely imperative that you take a multi-tool along. Now, my next two are, one is ridiculously obvious and one's a slight curveball. I put a pair of gloves in. Now, we work in outdoor weddings, as you know, and this is the outside bride, so this is full of lots of people who work here, getting married in the outdoors. And I find I like to keep my hands quite clean, and I imagine if you're getting married, you might want to keep your hands quite clean. So chuck some gloves in a box, because if you're having to push a trailer, adjust a toilet block, or move some lumps of wood about, or something, hay bales, you know, you've got the string that keep the hay bales together, gloves. I am hands up. I'm happy to admit I wear gloves. I do not want my hands cut. And what I find is when I do not wear gloves, I always end up with a cut or injury, and it absolutely drives me up the wall. So that's why my gloves now stay in my on-site box. So that's my 4th item. And my 5th item is quite mainstream, but I don't know if everyone uses them. We pack loads of these. These are called ball bungees. So in short, they've got a couple of ways you can use them. You either wrap around something and hook them in like that, or you can put them around something like that. That's pretty much it. But once again, whether it's keeping, you know, your decorations put up, putting some slightly heavier lights up, some pictures, because then you can, it's called a lark's foot for anyone in the know. You can lark's foot the knots together and hang them, and they do that. And they've got quite a lot of options. In fact, sometimes cable ties aren't quite right for. And absolutely, ball bungees are, you know, definitely, once again, just get a pack off Amazon. Don't break the bank. This is not about having 100. This is about having 5, 10, 15, just to make sure you've got all areas covered as you're setting up your venue. You know, it might be something stupid as you've taken some freezers or fridges, you're putting them out on the pallets and they're wonky. So all you want to do is tie down a corner of the pallet to a marquee foot or something silly like that. And these are really good for that. You know, something that might take centimetres and meters and meters of gaffer tape, or you know, you might end up putting loads of these end on end, not the small ones, the big ones. So you know, then you've got the wall bungees and everything else. That is our emergency box. So just recapping: cable ties, gaffer tape, a Leatherman, ball bungees, and gloves to keep your hands clean. Don't judge me. Right, okay, that's it. I might even write those lists in those items in the comments and the description. Let you all know what they are, because it really, brides and grooms, I absolutely recommend when you go to set up your site, if you're setting your site up, then you take those items along with you, and you know, it's just worth chucking them in the back of the car, to be honest. Right, okay, then we were just thinking about wet weather plans. So Emily talked about wet weather plans about a month ago. She went to set up a bell tent, and the bride and groom had zero wet weather plan, and they were really upset, and they were panicking, and they were worried. And now, don't get me wrong, I think if my beautiful outdoor wedding was it was raining, I also would be horrified and not in a very good place. So helping have a slight plan is just something you can do to alleviate any of that stress and pressure. Now the plan, in my head, when I was thinking about these plans, it could be something ridiculously complicated, but you've got a flip chart on and you're writing it all out, and plan B is a hotel, whatever. You know, no, that's not a wet weather plan. A wet weather plan is making sure you've got wellies, waterproofs and umbrellas. A wet weather plan is if you can't get on the field, you know, it's worth speaking to your venue, your outdoor venue, to find out what their field is like when it's wet. Because if you're getting married at the beginning of the year, the March-April period, then the chances are you've probably still got a lot of water in the ground. I know our garden at the lower end is still a quagmire. You know, it's still, when you walk on it, it squelches up. So if you're putting a marquee down and you're going for coir matting directly onto the grass, yeah, they can put a waterproof barrier underneath, but that's still a lot of moisture when 120 people start watching on it. Hi Charlotte, you're right. That's still a lot of moisture that's basically going to start seeping round and through the gaps as 120 people start walking on it, assuming that's how many you've got. So absolutely make sure you have your wet weather plans. So there's a few things to think about. If you're going to go to the earlier part of the season, you want to check that your venue, that the grass area, that the field area is going to be able to cope with the wet weather that we've had all winter in this lovely country, that if we haven't had sun in March, April, that it's dried out. So what you can do, you can get marquee companies now who put like a suspended wooden floor in. It sits 2-3 inches above the floor, so it's going to soak up all the lumps and bumps, and it's not going to let any of that moisture, any of that water, well, I'm kidding, moisture, that water come up. And that's an absolute positive. The other thing is, there was a blog, I reckon it was about 2-3 years ago, of a teepee wedding, where it basically hammered it down all the time. And they embraced it. They chucked their wellies on. And I've got a recollection, if anyone remembers this, put a thumbs up. But imagine that's like your foot, or you know, just above your ankle, because that's a pint glass. But basically the water was about there. It was just over the line of the feet before the ankle started. And they just embraced it. The bride hiked up a dress and they just ran round, and they all sat at the tables. They, you know, picked all the electrics up and carried on. But my point is, their teepee was fine in the weather. So that's really important. Once again, your wet weather plan, when you're thinking about it, what are you booking? So if you're going to get married in, like I say, the fringes of the summer, and you're going to have a party tent or a capri marquee or, you know, gazebos, that sort of thing, they're not going to be able to cope with the wet weather as well. So if you're going to go in the peripheries of summer, you want something a bit more bomb-proof, like a multi-span marquee or a teepee, or or a more permanent shelter, an open barn, a stone shelter. What are those, like wood huts, circle wood huts, which I think is called a circle hut or something like that, but for the life of me I can't think what it's called for the minute. But I know a local campsite that's got one, and you know, and that's what we're going to look at. If you're then going to go in this middle of the summer, then you can go for the lighter weight stuff, but you've then got to factor in yurt type thing, but I know it's kind of made of wood with a straw hut, like something you'd see in Africa. You know, I'm not trying to be funny, but yes, that sort of thing. So that's what you want to go for. You know, if you're going to go on the peripheries, don't go for something that's going to blow away. And like I say, you know, a lot of the marquees nowadays and the teepees, they are temporary venues. They're not a tent. They're a temporary venue. When you zip down the walls and put the boa back in, and you've got 100 people in there dancing and partying, you really won't know. I mean, we've had marquees up in some of the worst weather we've had. We actually had a marquee up in a tornado. A tornado went through the field. You know, that's how close we were. It was in Gosport about 4 years ago, and that's how close we were to the middle of the storm. And the marquee was fine. We had a few drips of condensation and rain in the corners. That was it. But everyone in there just carried on. And that's really important. Like, think about what you're booking for, what type of year you're booking. And then if it is actually raining and you're not planning for it, then really you kind of embrace it. Get the wellies out, get the waterproofs out, get the umbrellas out, get some off-ground fire pits out, you know, yeah. That's all you can really do. I mean, if it was a full-on storm, there's not much we can do. We can't predict that. But, you know, if it's raining and you're in a field, then, you know, that hopefully we can mitigate most of that by just thinking about what you're booking, what time of year you're booking, and having all those other things in. On umbrellas, I've just thought about this, and we've definitely mentioned before. I know there's a company, I'm pretty confident they're called Jolly Brolly, and you can rent umbrellas. You know, if you don't want to go sourcing them from all the shops that sell cheap umbrellas, I've got absolute feeling they're called Jolly Brolly. Never used them. I think I met them once and they were nice enough people, but that's about as much as I know. So I wouldn't say I recommend them, but I know they exist. Any other thoughts on the wet weather? Happy to share ideas tonight. No? Okay. Well, if they do, chuck them up because I'll add them in. We had a question from Hannah, who was she was helping me out. Apologies if I'm feeling flat tonight. It's been one of those days, but I'm trying to give you guys 100%. And I look like I'm sunburned. Do I look sunburned in this picture? I feel like I am. Hannah asked, how long in advance do you need to book a venue? Hannah, that's a great question. Everyone knows Hannah's part of the team, but it is a really good question because Hannah's helping her friends get their wedding organised at the moment. Honestly, when you're booking your venue, get it booked ASAP. There's no exact time because it's going to depend on your length of engagement, when you pick as your date, and their availability. It's that simple. So what you want to do is, have we ever talked about Sunday night planning? I think I'm confident we would have mentioned that because I think this is one of the most important. Charlotte, my venue just put a post on Instagram saying August 2020 was fully. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, our 2018 filled up quick. That's why we're banging out the 2019 stuff. But I think we've got one for 2020. But yeah, that is absolutely mind blowing. So, and that's just proving a point. You know, that's anyone who's having a short engagement is going to struggle to get their ideal venue. So really get on it. Karen, we can make a rustic wooden cover so guests can stand under it in the bed, whether it's like a pergola with a pagoda with a rattan roof. Yeah, absolutely, actually, Karen. And I know as a marquee company, we carried some 6-metre canopies, Chinese hats, some people call them, and we would offer them as a kind of last minute. That didn't need to be a part of the booking. They could ring up and add that on at the last moment, you know, and that's good stuff. Going back to the venues, yeah, get in there as soon as possible. When you're doing your Sunday night planning, for me, other than Pinterest for the brides, this is one of the most important things you have to do when you are newly engaged and planning your wedding. You need to sit together on a Sunday night with phones, tablets, computers, whatever you choose, get on the internet, get on YouTube, get on Pinterest, Instagram, and you need to sit there and discuss what you want your wedding to feel like, what you want, arguably this most special day in your life, what you want it to feel like, what you want your guests to see and feel and hear, what you want to see and hear and hear and feel. Oh my days. And that's it. And write it all down, make a Pinterest board on it, give it its own Instagram account, and repost stuff, whatever you choose to do to remember it. That's it. Once you've done your Sunday night planning and you've done all your Googling and your thinking and you've spent a few days discussing it, you should know what venue you want, whether you want to go and find a farmer's field, whether you want to go to a local campsite, whether you want a beautiful garden at a country house, whether you're going to a friend or family member's back garden, or whether you're having it at your house or the forest, or there's so many amazing outdoor venues. If there's a piece of grass and it's big enough, technically that's where you can have a wedding, and it doesn't really the party part. The reception. So yeah, and then you need to book it. That's it. Get on top of it. Get it booked straight away, and speak to them. Find out when their busy periods are, and work on that. And it's complicated, for those. We see this in the Outside Bride, in the comments. Come on up. People. There was a discussion on how much money to save this week, and and that's a really tricky question. I can't remember I think it was Sarah posted the question, and that's a really tricky question because everyone's budget's different, everyone's engagement lengths are different, everyone's stress levels, and there is a giant crow outside my back door, like I swear that big. Everything is different, but the stress and everyone's feelings and emotions are exactly the same. So get on top of it all, get it booked, get it planned, get thinking how much do you need to save, and get planning, and that's it really. That's all I can really say. Karen, our daughter married at the cowshed near Wolverhampton. It's a stunning barn, totally DIY. We arranged it in 6 months, 100 guests, but it had 2 open barns and it is licensed for humanist weddings. Yeah, fantastic. So you managed to get one in 6 months, and that is good. And I'm always gobsmacked at how short some engagements are. I think we seem to get split down the middle. We get the people with the 6-month engagements, and we get the people with the kind of 18-month engagements who want to book us for 18 months time. And that's why you've just got to be planned, do your Sunday night plan, and get on there and get booked ASAP. Right. That is everything so far that I've got to talk about. I am going to cover my emergency kit again. I may cover why I'm wearing an RAF Flight Suit at the end. Luckily, Joseph has not woken up. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to ask them away. So, emergency kit, just giving you a couple of seconds to ask a question if anyone's got one. Emergency kit's simple. Cable ties, go to Lidl's, Aldi, The Range, some type of shop, Amazon if you want to. We buy everything on Amazon. And buy yourself a multi-pack. Look, £2.50, £3, something like that, £5 tops possibly. But just get it. It will come in different lengths, different thicknesses. You'll have the small ones for the fiddly stuff and the big ones for the big jobs. Just chuck it there and chuck it in the box and use it. Next up, gaffer tape. Do I really need to say anything about gaffer tape? I started to try and describe jobs to do with it at the start, and then realised what absolutely was the point. 2, a multi-tool. I think Dave mentioned this. Actually, it's also got a bottle opener. So in really important stuff, it's got saw, screwdrivers, pliers, sharp stuff, whatever. Who cares what's in it? It's a tool that does stuff. Then I got some gloves. Well, if you're doing an outdoor wedding, you are going to be touching a lot of dirty stuff that's potentially sharp, might hurt. Hay bales have the twine round. It hurts, trust me, I've picked them up. But I'm happy to admit I keep my hands as soft as possible. Don't judge me, it's just true. I like to moisturise, I like to keep my hands soft. So I carry gloves, and every time I don't wear gloves, I hurt myself. So I carry gloves more and wear them. But whether you're moving logs about, hay bales about, got to move a toilet block, moving 10 tables, 20 chairs, 200 chairs, carrying some kegs of ale in for your free bar, whatever, chuck a pair of gloves in. The last one is ball bungees. These are absolute. The other thing about this I didn't mention, when you use cable ties, unless you get undoing ones, which you then are a bit fiddly to push down and undo. You then end up chopping them all, and that's a lot of waste. And I don't like waste in this plastic world. I don't like waste full stop, let alone the plastic waste stuff. And ball bungees are a lot simpler. You do that, oh wait on, they go tight, and then when you've finished what it's doing, you do that, and it goes back in the box to be used again, re-gifted. Actually, that's a valid point. A while ago, there was a bride on here talking about sharing stuff. What you could do, you could have your little box of stuff, because it's quite small, and once you finish using it, if you have no need for it, chuck a post up on the outside bride and re-gift it. I'm sure there are lots of brides coming up who would absolutely love that. Right, guys, that is it. There's clearly no more questions. As always, I didn't do an introduction at the beginning. It is the 2nd of May. It is now 8:25. This was the 16th Ask an Expert. I can't think properly tonight. I'm so sorry. 16th Ask an Expert. So thank you all very much, and look forward to speaking to you next week. Bye.